Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. Just let's start off. What are the Saints getting with Spencer Rattler?
I think they're getting a guy with a huge upside, fantastic person, somebody that I obviously, have been around since 2019 when we were together at Oklahoma. So I think he's been through so much adversity. His story is he's weathered some storms from what happened at Oklahoma, some of the adversity he dealt with here at South Carolina with injuries and whatnot. But he's extremely talented. He's extremely hardworking. He's humble, and I know he's eager to get to work out there.
What do you remember from him, like when you guys when he transferred to South Carolina? Just at the end of that Oklahoma experience, what was he kind of like, and how did you kind of see him maybe take that and learn from it?
Yeah, I was fortunate that we were together at Oklahoma. I've known Spencer since he was a senior, I guess junior in high school, his junior year, when we were recruiting him at Oklahoma. I saw him come into Oklahoma. I think that I don't want to speak for him, but I would imagine coming to Oklahoma when he did was a great experience because our starting quarterback when he got there was Jalen Hurts. So he was able to see how Jalen acclimated coming from Alabama to Oklahoma. And I would imagine that helped Spencer when he came from Oklahoma to South Carolina. And then certainly when he chose South Carolina, you're talking about a guy that going into the 2021 season, he was everybody's projected number one pick in the NFL draft. And he was on one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy. And the season didn't turn out the way that he wanted. But from talking to people at Oklahoma, they had nothing but great things to say about him, how he handled that situation with Caleb and losing his job. And then it spoke volumes about our program that a guy like Spencer Rattler would choose to come here. So that was a big deal when Spencer Rattler made the announcement to come to the South, come join our program. And then when he came in, he was exactly like I thought he would be, hardworking, went right to work, didn't really say a whole lot, just tried to earn the respect of his teammates, and he did. He was a two-time captain here at Carolina and elevated our program and led us to some big-time wins over the last 2 years.
Coach, obviously, you can't read a story about him. You can't read a scouting report about him where it talks about, the perception of him early on, the adversity he faced. Is it fair that that sticks with him, or, is it overhyped, or is it something he really did have to grow from it, and that is part of his good story?
Um, I think the biggest knock on him are people that I think the Netflix show that he did, which I've never watched in my life, but I've heard about this Netflix show that didn't portray him in a good light. But I can't imagine many people at the age of 17 would be proud of a Netflix show that was done on them. And then particularly with that, when you're part of a reality show like that, the producers they can twist and shape the narrative however they want to make it make some people look a certain way. I never watched it. All I knew was what I saw with my own eyes, and I saw the way that people respected him and liked him in the football facility at Oklahoma. I know his family and how grounded he is. His mom and dad are awesome. If his dad ever called me during his time here at Carolina, it was only to thank me for the experience that Spencer was having at South Carolina. And his mom and dad are fantastic. Whole family's great. He's great. So whatever that narrative is on the outside, if people are basing that off of something that he did at the age of 17, then in my opinion, shame on them. He's grown so much and has the respect of so many.
And then we just talked to Coach Loggins about those scouting reports also talk about how pro ready, quote unquote, his arm is, the system he played in, the throws he can make. I mean, is that true that the talent he's working with is even more pro ready than we'll find with a lot of guys making that transition from college?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think mentally he's going to be ahead of the time because he's really played in three different systems. He played in Lincoln Riley's system at Oklahoma. His first year here in 2022, we had a different offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield. He's at Nebraska now. And then Dow Loggins came in. And Marcus had spent some time in the NFL with the Panthers. Dow's obviously his whole career has been in the NFL. And we didn't change a lot when Dow came in, but there were some differences and some terminology and how he was coached and things like that as well. And Dow's a longtime coordinator and quarterback in the NFL, quarterback coach in the NFL, so that'll help Spencer. So mentally, I think he's going to be farther along than most quarterbacks because of what he's been exposed to. But then the talent speaks for itself. I mean, he can make any throw on the field. He's made some miraculous throws not miraculous, but impressive throws over the last couple of years. He can throw on the run. And he's a better athlete than people give him credit for, too. Whatever his 40 time was, 4.9 or whatever I heard. He's a better athlete than people give him credit for. He's made some runs here in the last couple years and for us. And I think he's got just a big upside, and his best football's in front of him.
Coach, was he a different type of player at South Carolina? Was he a little bit more relaxed? Did you see that in him?
Compared to Oklahoma, you mean?
Yeah. Did he?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. To me, that's one of Spencer's greatest strengths is his steadiness. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. I think that's an amazing quality in a quarterback, and what Coach Allen wants out of his quarterbacks there in New Orleans. And that's Spencer. So to me, he was very much the same guy. He was probably a little bit more battle tested, seasoned, mature, whatever. That's what adversity and years will do to you. But I never once thought he was more relaxed. I mean, he's a guy. I've said this before publicly. I mean, he dealt with adversity at Oklahoma before. Everybody makes a big deal out of getting benched to Caleb, but people forget. When Spencer took over as the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, he was replacing Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts. And then he takes over as the starting quarterback, and we at Oklahoma, with him as our starting quarterback, we immediately lose our first 2 Big 12 games that year. We lose to Kansas State at home, and then we go up on the road and we lose to Iowa State. So here's this young freshman quarterback that's replacing 3 pros, and he starts out 1-2, but he never flinched. We went and played Texas that year. Coach Riley actually benched him in the first half of the Texas game in 2020. And then he put Spencer back in the game. He leads us to like a 4 overtime victory, and then doesn't lose a game the rest of his career at Oklahoma. Leads us to a Big 12 championship. Then the next year, all the hype is about him going into the season. He loses his job. But throughout all that, in 2020, the highs and the lows, coming to South Carolina, I think that's one of his greatest strengths is he was the same guy all along, and I didn't really notice a difference when he was here.
Coach, the Saints have working on this offseason installing this new wide zone offensive approach. What do you think would make Spencer a good fit in that style of a system?
That's a better question for, Coach Allen and those guys. I just think with Spencer, he's been exposed to different run concepts. He's been exposed to different, passing concepts. And he's a guy that I think can do a lot. Being able to manage the run game, manage the pass game, and do what the Saints need him to do offensively.
What type of growth did you see in him on the field, specifically kind of the last 2 years at South Carolina?
I think a lot. He really committed to getting in here, and our system is completely different than what the system he ran at Oklahoma, and our Oklahoma with Coach Riley. So he really committed to getting in here, and I think off the field, learning our system for one, but just really trying to understand defenses and what they were doing. I mean, I spent all my time, or most of my time, in the quarterback meetings here at Carolina, and every time I walked in there, I mean, he's in there all the time. He's taking notes. He's on his iPad and really worked to understand the game better. And then on the field, I think probably the biggest thing, and he continued to work on the fundamental part of it and getting better there with Dow. And then just he's grown so much because, to me, the adversity he's faced here. I mean, our offense last season, our offensive line was decimated by injuries. And we lost 6 offensive linemen to season-ending injuries last season. We started 2 true freshmen on the offensive line last season in what I consider the toughest conference in America that has the best defenses in America. So it wasn't an easy road to hoe for him last season. But I know from talking to a lot of NFL teams, that's one thing that really resonated with him was just how he handled that. You never saw him getting frustrated. You never saw him pointing fingers. He was positive. One of my favorite moments from last season is he throws the game-winning touchdown pass against Kentucky late in the game. And on that play, we had a true freshman running back that hadn't really played much throughout the season that was in the game because of injuries. And he picked up a blitzing linebacker, and that allowed Spencer to step up in the pocket and throw the touchdown pass to Xavier Legette. And, our in-house media team caught it. And as soon as that play's over, you see Spencer come up to the freshman running back and tell him what a great job that was on that play to pick up that linebacker. And that's just who he is. And I know that impressed a lot of teams, and that's the kind of guy the Saints are getting.
Coach, he obviously competed in the Senior Bowl, was the game MVP. How important was that for him?
I think it was great. It's him got such great respect for Jim Nagy and what the Senior Bowl does. But to me, that was a great testament to Spencer, the week that he had and how much he impressed teams that week, which shocked me even more that, he was still sitting there in the 5th round because of the performance he had down in Mobile that week. I was down there at practice, I think on either Tuesday or Wednesday, and so many NFL teams are coming up to me just talking about what a great week he was having, and then culminate it with the game that he had. So that was a big opportunity for him on that stage in front of NFL personnel to throw to other future NFL players and be exposed to an NFL coaching staff or part of a coaching staff. And I think that was a great week for him, and will do nothing but aid in his development.
When you land a talent like Spencer at South Carolina, was there a temptation to change your offense to what Oklahoma was running, or did you think kind of maybe like a fresh approach would be good for him?
No, great question. No, I mean, we were going to do what we did systematically. I mean, when he came in, 2021 was my first season here, and then Spencer came in 2022, so we weren't going to completely change the offense one player terminology wise. Now, we did implement some things that I knew that, he was comfortable with at Oklahoma. We did implement some things even before he got here. I mean, we had plays that in 2021, before Spencer even got here, that I took from Oklahoma that I said, this stuff's really, really good, and we need to utilize it. I mean, we have plays in our offense called Boomer. We have a play called Sooner. We have a play called Kyler. We have a play called CD, named after CD Lamb. So there's concepts that when Spencer got to Carolina, he already knew. I could just say, hey, Spencer, we call this Boomer, but at Oklahoma, we called it whatever. And that probably helped the process a little bit. But he jumped right in, never asked us to make any exceptions for him. He wanted to learn what we did, but certainly, like any coach, you always want to do the things that your quarterback is comfortable with, and that's what we tried to do when he got here.
Coach, have you reached out to him yet today? And if so, what was that conversation like?
Yeah, I called him. I called him yesterday before the draft just to see how he was doing, and I fully expected him to go last night, and so I called him yesterday just to kind of check in and say hello. And we had a good conversation yesterday, and then today, as soon as he got drafted, about within 5 minutes, I called him. So I don't know. You guys work fast. I don't know. He told me if he may have been on with you guys. He was on a Zoom and said he'd hit me back whenever he cleared up, and then I told him I knew he was slammed with stuff and to call me whenever he had time. But super excited for him. Like I said, a guy I've known since 2019 and who I've been with since 2019, but have known longer than that. But really excited for him.
And he mentioned knowing Archie Manning. Had he ever brought that up to you or their relationship?
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I should have mentioned that too. He went and did the Manning Passing Academy, I want to say in the summer of 2022, I think. And I know that was an amazing experience for him. And Archie has texted and called me in the past about Spencer and how impressive he was. I still have a picture on my phone of that. Archie and I think Peyton both sent me the same picture, and it was of Peyton's son, I believe, with Spencer at that camp, and they sent it to me that summer, which was really pretty cool. And I know the how impressed the Mannings were, who I have so much respect for, how impressed they were with Spencer at that camp. But I remember our strength coach telling me here at Carolina that when Spencer came back from the Manning Passing Academy, I don't want to say he was a different person, but he really grew from that time at the Manning Passing Academy, particularly as a leader. And I remember our strength coach coming telling me later that summer that, man, ever since Spencer came back from the Passing Academy, he's just grown so much as a leader, way he carries himself as a quarterback, and I think that's directly attributed to that time with the Mannings.
Yeah, I mean, when you go through adversity like he went through, just to have someone of that caliber to kind of lean on, how important is it for QB's development, specifically for him?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lonely position, and I've told him before, it's the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach that typically get the most credit and the most blame when things go well or don't go well. And he's done it on a high level and on a major stage ever since he got to Oklahoma and then coming to South Carolina. So without a doubt, to have people that you can lean on, that position can sometimes be lonely. So to be able to reach out to other guys like he's able to is certainly a huge resource.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks for taking the time.
You got it. Yep.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care.